This is Fiona Morris from the Divine Business Circle and Nourish and Flourish, and I'm here today with the lovely Bernie Petrie of Barefoot Ambition and the Barefoot Sanctuary. And we're here today for the second in our series of Divine Chats, where we're talking to holistic business owners about their business journeys and the way that they have grown and sustain their business. So hi Bernie, how are you?
Really good, Fiona. It's lovely to hear your voice. I can't see your face, but it's lovely to see you in amongst the stars on my screen. You are a planet on my eye.
That's right, yes. We've been chatting earlier and we have had quite hilariously technological issues. So yes, this is a very new series to me, and I've been testing out this Be Live technology to go live on Facebook, but it's not playing today, so we are resorting to plan B and doing it through Bernie's live Bernie's Zoom thing, because my Zoom isn't working either. I think it's time for a new computer for me. So anyway, here we are.
And the first thing in business, isn't that the first thing, that things are going to go wrong? Absolutely, they are going to go wrong, and you have to get comfortable with that. I think you have to get.
Yes.
When I set up the business, even before I'd opened the Barefoot Sanctuary, one of the post-it notes that I had on my wall was a quote from Marie Forleo saying, "Everything is figure-outable. Everything is figure-outable," and it became my mantra. And it is still, anytime I hit something that is it's like, everything's figure-outable. So it's one of the things now up at the Barefoot Sanctuary. All those post-it notes that I had on my desk wall are now the messages around the Barefoot Sanctuary to inspire other people as well. So there you go.
Yes.
Technology won't stop us.
We're definitely figuring it out as we go along, and it's not stopping us. We're still doing this, although we did talk about possibly rescheduling, but we're just going to go ahead anyway. So just to introduce my beautiful guest, Bernie Petrie is a light worker and a light maker. She's a life coach and an intuitive coach, a spiritual guide. You have a lot of hats, Bernie. You also run the Barefoot Sanctuary, which is a beautiful holistic centre in North Berwick. And you are a radio host on Saltire Radio, I believe.
That's
right. It's a Good Vibration.
Good Vibration. That's the name of the show. We've given it that name. We've created the show.
I love that.
Vibration Show, and it's with the community Radio Saltire. Yeah, we'll be on live tomorrow, actually, with Alison McKenzie's our guest tomorrow, in fact.
Oh, how exciting. Yeah, I'll have to tune into that. Big fan of Alison as well. And I know you do a lot of barefoot conversations. So you do a lot of interviews with inspiring people also, and your barefoot talks at your beautiful sanctuary, where I was very honored to be invited as a guest a few months ago as well, which I really enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Very special. Very special. Our first outdoor one, Fiona.
Yes.
Only app that
loved it
to be outdoor giving a talk.
Yes, so I would introduce that into the mix as well. Being an outdoorsy girl. So the theme of this series is really to talk to people who have been on a divine business journey, and I have spoken to you in the past about how you were called to set up your Barefoot Sanctuary, and I was wondering if you could share with any of our listeners today maybe a little bit about what that journey looked like. Where were you before the Barefoot Sanctuary came about, and actually what were you doing before you got into coaching and so on, and how did you get into that path? That's maybe a long story, but I'd love to hear it.
I'm looking forward to listening to what I say.
Yay.
It's somebody, actually, I think a friend, one of my husband's old school friends' wives said to me, I think about 12, 13 years ago, Bernie, we were away for a weekend. She said, I think you make a great life coach. And I my jaw dropped, and I looked at her and I was like, good God, no. I mean, I have far too many skeletons in my cupboard and all. I was like, oh no, I couldn't possibly. That would never happen. And it's funny, I've never been one of those people that can remember detailed conversations, but I remember that sentence and I remember that moment. I remember thinking that would never happen. Fast forward to 2010, I had a shift that made that possible. But to go back to your question, what was I doing before? My life has led up to this. My background is in sales and marketing. I left school, went to college, talked my way into a social work degree, which is showing my sales skills clearly. My way into social studies degry, did that, knew I was not going to go down that route. Because I thought I would get myself into a situation. I remember somebody said to me, you're so ambitious that you will get yourself into a situation that you won't be able to handle. So I just found the easy, obvious solution to that is not even to start. So I went into sales instead, got myself into a business situation that I couldn't handle. The same thing was going to happen. So I went into sales and marketing and I sold commercial wall coverings, and I was very drawn to color and design, having loved painting as a kid, but not done any design, not done even art O level or anything. So I was selling commercial wall coverings to interior designers and architects and anyone in that field in Scotland, and ultimately then in Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland. And I rose up through the ranks and I became sort of head of sales team, and then I was on the board of directors at the age of, I think, 29, 28.
Wow.
I was very much married to the job. So I was working ridiculous late hours and was totally miserable. Not all the time, but I was, I remember just sort of, you get this title, you're a director, and it's, it felt very important, and something inside just felt empty. So fortunately, when I finally when we decided to have children, so I was 32 when I had my first daughter, it gave me the obvious out, because I felt like I couldn't justify leaving unless I had, I wasn't somebody who could quit things. I had to stay at something that was so painful. Until then it was like, well, now you see I can't. And it was like overnight my interest in that business just fell away. I had no desire to contemplate trying to do both. So that was what I was doing. So yeah, I was that corporate person, not quite a corporate person because I was selling to corporate people, but I was that person who would be, in her fancy car, in the power suit, with the sales team, feeling like a horrible boss a lot of the time. Yeah, that was but I can see now that was all preparation towards the life that I do now. So that takes me up to 2001. Right. And I was a stay-at-home mum full time. We had 2 children. I went back to that company, did a little bit of consultancy, but was very much went into that traditional role. My husband was in London. I was at home until the kids both went to school. And then, like a lot of women who'd been in the, in careers and education, kids start school, you start wondering, well, what am I going to do now? And at that point, I jumped into another business that was going to be a perfect way for me to really learn lots about myself. And that culminated in me having what has been described as a breakthrough. So, I think, the reason I love mythical journeys and the Joseph Campbell stories, because I realized that we're all on our own one. And so I went through this whole kind of, journey to help find myself and to realize that most of my suffering had come from my own thoughts, and most of the pain that I'd caused had come from my mind telling me things, and, the voices in my head just telling me versions of things that weren't actually necessarily true. In fact, most of them weren't true. So that started me, that enabled me to come back to myself, which was a total incredible experience of having that awakening of we are the divine, and being ourselves, warts and all, is the whole point. Learning to love and cherish that all parts of ourselves, led me to want to do coaching. And then I was kind of basically out running, sort of before I'd even gone to become a life coach. And I got this kind of download: you're going to open this center, you're going to open a place where people will come, that they will feel loved, they will do yoga, they will meditate, they will have coaching, and it all was just like, it was like a complete download. And I wrote it down a piece of paper, which I still have, and it describes the barefoot sanctuary to a T. To a T. So that I kind of really, I've just been following instruction, really.
Wow,
it's a very long
that's amazing. Well, no, I mean, I suppose that's, it's been quite a long journey that you've been on, from where you were in the corporate world, and then having your children, and then deciding to get back into business, but doing it on your own terms and leaning into your authenticity and what lights you up, and being your own boss, presumably.
I mean, I remember when I got involved in the business prior to becoming a life coach, I got involved in this business, which was blending my interior skills, my sales skills, and it all felt really good, but I wasn't my own boss, and it wasn't my dream. And my body was clearly trying to get through to me, because I just, and that's why I think our body is our most essential, it's the guru. Listen to your body, listen to your feelings, because they are telling you what your soul is really, how it's feeling. And I'm very much committed now to only doing in business what feels really, really good. Only. And it's like, the moment I get a feeling of this doesn't feel good, I voice it. And I wasn't able to do that before then. And that, but you have to, I often always chose the hard way to learn things, but that was my karma, that was my journey. And I think I've got better at now not learning it so difficult, hard. But, I think a lot of women can relate to thinking that, what they don't trust what they feel, trust themselves. And, it's something that we weren't necessarily, through no fault of our predecessors, it's not something we were taught to do, because they weren't taught to do it. That kind of, I feel like the conversation about trusting your divine self just kind of got interrupted, and we didn't get that wisdom, or we were so in our heads because of the human story that we wouldn't even hear it, because it's always been there. Clearly it's not stopped, but maybe some of the volume of another conversation got dialed up. So what I'm hearing you say is about powerfully listening to our own intuition, really. And what you say about your body being the guru and doing only what feels really good, which it does sound that if you have that clear message, that it's just really easy to make decisions from that viewpoint. Definitely. Well, it is, and it's the only way, I think, that decisions will not come back to bite us in the bum. Like, because how many of us have done that, where we've kind of this doesn't feel good, this doesn't feel, something about this, right, okay, let's do it anyway. Oh, what a surprise, something goes pear-shaped. So I think that it's like being, for me, I would have described myself as a kid as quite a scaredy cat kind of kid. I wasn't the kind of kid that would say that I needed to go to the loo even, or I wasn't. I don't know where that came from, but clearly it was something I had to experience. But those kind of childhood things can affect you if you're not aware of it, if you don't sort of really look back and understand yourself as a little kid, to know where the kid might try to take over. And now just being able to put your cards on the table and get any of those abuts out of the way, I think it is one of the most important things in business, with whatever it is, just if you've got any little niggle doubt or question or something, give yourself permission to raise it. And that's you listening to your intuition, I think.
Yes. I think what can be, you mentioned doing what feels good, and what feels good to us sometimes isn't necessarily good to the people in our life or that we're working with. And that can be a bit of a challenge at times, I have found anyway. And among people in my network, I know that sometimes there's a tendency to kind of want to keep everyone happy and just sort of go along, say yes when you actually mean no. Just out of habit, being helpers and healers, we just, our default is doing what that person wants because it's what they want rather than what we want. And so it seems to me that it comes in order to really fully listen to your intuition and trust what your body's telling you. We also need to get quite empowered within ourselves to be able to say no to what our body doesn't want, and that can be a challenge, I feel. What do you think?
Oh, I think completely. I mean, I was a total people pleaser, and one of my biggest fears is that people will hate me or say terrible things about me, and whereas I'm having a great job doing it in my own head anyway, so why am I worried about it? So I've definitely learned to say no much better. And I guess really it's like realizing that if I say no to something that doesn't feel good, I'm saying yes to me. I'm saying yes to that little 4-year-old girl that I let down times, or I'm saying yes to that 14-year-old that that I judged. And so if we want to say yes, it's like I find it really easy to makes it easier to do it if you imagine all parts of you sitting around looking at you, and they're desperate for you to say yes to them. Your whole life will breathe, the universe will breathe a sigh of relief if you say yes to them, because they are your priority, all the complete part of you. So the whole healer thing, because often, I mean, I don't feel I had any choice in doing what I do now. That said, I literally only do what feels good. I do, and I don't, maybe because of the experience that I had and the kind of awakening epiphany that I had because I had put myself in so much suffering. I totally believe that, it's like, you serve from a full cup. And if you're not serving from a full cup, you're not helping anybody. So this healer save the world, or I'm a healer, I have to heal. I don't. That is not my perspective at all. It's like you are a being of light, and you're here to serve all parts of you and be true to yourself. And from that, other people benefit. It's like a baby, just is. The joy inside of you becomes contagious, and so. Yeah, because if I think back to the years before 2010, I was that shiny, happy, smiley person up at the playground, but inside I wasn't. I had this I felt responsible to make people smile, and that's very draining. Very, very draining. I really learned from people who just don't have that affliction. They are totally happy allowing themselves to be totally themselves, and that was for me. I had to learn to show my emotions and to say how I really feel, and not to try and please people, because that's going against everything that I think we came here for.
Absolutely. I relate to that as well, as a recovering people pleaser, and I think it does kick back in from time to time. I'm getting better at it, but I mean, it's definitely, we need to keep practicing that one. Things keep showing up to test us.
Totally. And it's just that, and as you said earlier, it can be hard. So it's like I've practiced how to say no in a way that feels polite, or that feels good to me, doesn't feel, but so, like, for example, and again, like, one of my great mentors who I've never met in the flesh is Marie Forleo. And one of the ones she said, I would really love to, but I'm not, what's it, I think she learned to say it. It's like, I
Mm-hmm.
would really love to, but I don't want to, or, you know,
Yes.
the no, and no is a full
Yeah.
sentence. Thank you so much, but I'm a no.
Yeah.
And that was one I found really good. Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's a no. It's a no from me. You know,
Yes.
thank people for the invitation, but you don't have to.
Mm.
And particularly some people, I've heard this. People say, I felt really inspired to ask you. That
Mm-hmm.
means that you
Mm-hmm.
must say yes because this is an inspired thought. And it's like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
maybe my part is to be the no, so that you are then
Mm-hmm.
accepting rejection because your soul is clearly needing to go
Mm-hmm.
through that. So,
Yes. Yeah.
you know, because and you know, I think you know, I know that you know when you feel inspired, it doesn't mean the other person has to play. It's like they have to remember
Mm-hmm.
their part is to stay true to them. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the more opportunities that we have to say no, the easier it gets, and actually, it can become almost effortlessly. You know, once you practice it more,
yeah,
or have gone through like ages of time where we've done stuff that we didn't really want to do, and you know, it gets to the point where, oh, what was that noise?
that was my clock. I have a
Oh.
he keeps me right on my clock. He's just telling us it's 16 hours. So
Oh, okay.
he likes to listen to just, you know, he likes those kind of conversations. He's our balancer, you know.
Yes, very
Massive
smooth
element
voice.
coming into my conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think,
Um,
you know, I think, yeah, practicing is good. But I would also say as well, because you talked about, you mentioned earlier about, you know, friends or families, people that
mm,
find it difficult for you to say no. And what I've said
mm,
to my close friends and my husband is, you know, it's a no today, but please ask me again. You know,
mm-hmm.
don't go, oh, she doesn't like doing that anymore. Oh, she'll never want to do that. It's like, you know what? It's a moment to moment thing. And so,
Mm,
you know, that's why I think we have, and that if we give ourselves to permission to make a decision in the moment about something rather than thinking we have to have it down for the rest of
yes.
and never say no to anything.
Yeah.
You don't know how you're going to feel until that moment. So you can let go of it, let go of worrying
Yeah.
about it, and just go, you know what, I'm in that situation. I'm going to pay attention to what's happening inside of me, and I'll make my decision there and then. And I find
Yeah.
that takes the pressure off big time.
Absolutely. And I would say a sincere no far outweighs a kind of half-hearted yes, because you know you might be doing something for someone because they want you to, but you don't really want to. And if you just said, actually no, I didn't really want to, but thanks for asking, you know, then it frees them up to connect with someone else who does really want to. So it's actually a greater kindness to say no to people,
Yeah, because
if you didn't really want to do it.
well, would you want to spend time or be in the company or whatever? Really, you know, our souls are both hoping that we remember our lines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, clearly there is a true line in there that we both have. There's a script that's the soul script, and we're both
Mm-hmm.
meant to be. If we follow the soul, we'll get the script right. And although it might look like something's gone wrong, you know, something amazing is probably happening when we
Yeah.
actually follow the soul script. So yeah.
I love that.
Mm.
So I'd like to ask you, in terms of your business journey, what tip could you give our listeners that would help them either to grow in their business or to feel sustained in their business, or just something to help them in their business flow? What do you feel? What's coming through for you?
Yeah, well, it's like I'm looking at I'm using the Danielle Laporte
Mm-hmm.
planner, and it's like what I will do to feel the way I want to feel. And today, the
Mm.
to prioritize pleasure. But going back to the, so I'm paying more attention to these nudges
Mm-hmm.
that they're there. You know, I mean, I guess it's when people, I never really talk about it in terms of my business. I know that
Mm-hmm.
sounds weird, but for me, it's a whole way
Mm-hmm.
of life. This is a life choice. You know, this is I'm in this for the long game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever platform or variance it's going to be, I'll be talking about the same thing, or I'll be creating something that is honoring the same thing, whether it's through writing a book or on the radio or through art or whatever way I'm inspired or feel and sort of have the courage to step forward into. It's all got the same message. And I think that, what I would say to anyone is, what is it that you cannot not do? What is it that you care that you're really passionate about? Commit to doing something towards that every single day. It doesn't mean you have to be working at it 12 hours a day or 8 hours a day. It doesn't mean it has to be financially sustaining you as the only way. You can earn money elsewhere, and that is okay. And I think it's actually better to do that than to sort of be desperately looking for clients, and the energy of meeting a client is never good. And I don't think you should ever take a client on for the money. I've done that. I was worried about, and I've taken on some clients because I think, oh great, I've got a client, and it's backfired big time. And I've refunded people because my body's going, my brain's going, oh great, money, and my body's going, no.
Yes.
so I think that I think one of the reasons I've been gifted the idea of the Barefoot Sanctuary is because that's a very easy fit for me based on all of my experience, all of my previous work. It's an obvious thing that it would be easy for me to create that because of my sales and background and interiors and just my personality of like hosting things. And so that enabled me to give me a financial, it enabled me. This is a mentality thing. So this is, again, it's about how does it make you feel? Because energetically, you can show up differently. So I feel like my business is providing income, and it pays the rent, and there's money for me to invest in the business, so that I have no pressure about coaching clients in that way, and it also doesn't take up a huge amount of my time. So, and it's for me. I go to yoga there. It's me. I literally build something for me to feed my soul. And I mean, people say, oh, well, your husband's earning money, or it's okay for you to do that. And it's like, well, we've made choices along the way. We've made choices all the way along. Like when I walked away from my corporate career, I made a choice. We didn't up our mortgage to the extent that we couldn't both do it. We sold stuff. We didn't go on. We just have prioritized what is it that we want to do rather than looking at all the trappings around it. So, I think it's Liz Gilbert says, you never make your passion pay, for your lifestyle. And, I'm totally passionate about coaching and writing, but they don't have to earn me a living. And in that way, I put that pressure on them. I mean, when
absolutely
it is earning a living, but it's not, I almost feel like I've got the income from the Barefoot Sanctuary is like a part-time job to enable me to do it. And I had, before I had Barefoot Sanctuary, even though I knew that my whole life was going to be about, the spiritual path and loving and cherishing you, I was doing estate agency, viewing properties, and, just doing anything that interested me. And even through by following my interest in building and property, I met people who ended up becoming clients in the coaching world, and it was all very that's a whole different way of me living that intuitive way. So I think that if you allow yourself to be guided, you can have income from other ways that will complement and not drain you energetically for what it is that you want to do in the long term. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like you've kind of quite organically created a really lovely balance in your supporting communities, and you've created the center which is benefiting both therapists and workshop runners and the people in your community are attending those, as well as yourself. And then that's a center where you can then see your clients. And so it's like a beautiful web that you've woven that just sort of ripples out and touches so many different people's lives, like an exponential benefit to everyone who steps into it, which is really quite an amazing achievement, I must say.
Well, thank you very much. And I do get that a lot. And, we've been running for 3 years now, and I am blown away by the feedback that I get. But honestly,
Yes.
I really feel I can take no credit, because I literally, it's my divine into that, it's
Yes.
she that has totally is guiding
Yes.
me, you know, it
Yeah.
and it is, it's almost like it's, you know, it's organic was very important. It was
Mm-hmm.
very, very important
Mm-hmm.
for it to be organic, because, you know, my kids are,
Yes.
you know, you know, in the summer I am quite lazy. Actually, I wouldn't say
I
quite lazy.
can't believe
I think I am very lazy.
that.
So, you know, me creating a like my daughter was saying to me the other day, Mum, you know, if you could set up, and she's now a teenager, and, you know, you could have a proper business, because you could have staff and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, yeah, but then I'd have, you know, this is like a long-term, slow burn thing. I wanted to be able to not, you know, the sanctuary, there's people were doing yoga earlier. I don't have to be there. And I think whatever way you want to build your business, build it around the things that you need for yourself 9 months first.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, it's like, what's the point? You know, it's like we're forgetting the whole essence of it. And it just shows you, you know, in terms of the fact that I'm doing something for me and it benefits other people, just shows you that if you do something that benefits you, it will benefit other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
because it enables people to have, you know, good either secondary incomes from running their classes there, and you know, they love it. They just turn up, and there's that momentum behind it. But that was really from following a creative impulse and something I wanted. I wanted a place where I could go and do yoga, and I could run my workshops, and it was a win-win. So, you know, I think if you start to really pay attention to what matters to you and what you're feeling, there's clues are they're right there, you know, they're right there. And back on everything that you've done and what comes effortless to you, those are the clues too, to sort of ways to help you to sort of just take a step at a time. And, you know, I mean, my business is very small in the scale of businesses in this industry. But as I say, it's like, I'm in it for the long term plan, because, you know, I don't want to burn out. So.
Yes. It's almost as if you've channeled.
I've done that before.
It's like you've stepped out of your own way, and it's just flowing through you, and it's taken on a life of its own, you know, the sanctuary, and you're in this sort of state of flow where there's a really nice kind of symbiosis. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but that's what's come to me.
And I mean, I don't know where it's going in the future. I really don't. I am trying just to get out of the way, and, you know, and sort of allow. It's like that constant conversation with the universe. You know, I'm trusting you that, you know, that if I ever feel stifled, that you're going to come up with a solution, and as long as I keep being honest with you how I'm feeling, you know, we've got that opportunity to sort of have that dialogue and the constant reviews and how are you feeling, you know, when we can do that with the universe all the time, with our divine selves all the time. It's like, you know, let's just be honest with how you feel, and that's probably something that we would not believe we could do in business, you know. Like, you know, don't show your vulnerability, and actually I think it's one of the essential things with the universe. We've got to do the opposite, you know, we've got to be that honest.
Yes, and it's actually quite amazing, considering your background in a more corporate from the corporate direction, that you've almost had to unlearn, you know, all of these messages that the corporate world puts on you, and that you've actually tuned into your own messages, your inner wisdom, your intuition. Your body has become your guide, rather than these sort of outside structures and bosses and people of society dictating how it should be done. But you're very much just going with your gut and your intuition, and allowing it to come out without really knowing, you know, having that trust in the mystery of it all, really.
And actually, if I was to look back, I would see really that I was very fortunate in that the the bosses that I had, they could say, if I was to get them in the room now, they would go, oh yeah, you were totally intuitive, you were totally, you were we just let you do your thing. And they did really, they could see that there was that they didn't really try to hamper my style. In fact, my very first boss, who we didn't end in good terms at all, but when I think of her now, I feel quite emotional. She really did see me, she really did see me, I think. And I remember I was going for interviews, wanting to leave the company, and so it was all very cloak and dagger, and I was going for other interviews, and the recruitment consultant had told me to, you need a handbag, and because I walked in with my keys and set them on the table, like the sales rep that I was. And then I remember, so I had this new suit and I had this handbag, so I go into work, of course, with my new look the next day, and my boss was like, what are you doing? What is going on? And it was like realizing that that you don't have, you can obviously polish up and you can be more slick, but if it doesn't totally go with you, then you're starting to become less who you are, and that's when people aren't resonating with you as such, because you're trying to change yourself. So it's like, reveal yourself, don't change yourself.
Oh, there were so many little nuggets of wisdom that you've been sharing, and I'm definitely going to be re-listening to this and taking notes and applying them to my life. And just to finish off, I'd love to hear, or if you could share with our listeners about how they can connect with you, and maybe any projects that you're working on that you'd like to tell everyone about. I know you're writing a book at the moment, which
that is proving a very creative challenge. We'll chat about that another day, but I think that when I finish the book and it's in my hand, I'm looking forward to that day hugely. And it's like, but allowing, trusting, really paying attention to what is bringing up in the process is good. So that is the sort of, I'm playing over the summer. I'm really trying to just, feed my soul. We're going on holiday and we're doing all those sort of things, and I'm going to do some painting and stuff. And then towards the end of the summer at the Fringe by the Sea this year, I'm doing a joint yoga and meditation hour with one of my practitioners, Amanda Heath, at Fringe by the Sea. So that's on Sunday, the 13th of August, if anyone wanted to come along. And we'll be doing that in the Spiegel tent. So that's fun. That just feels fun. And that's taking a bit of the sanctuary out into the community. And so obviously people can find me on Radio Salter every Wednesday at 2 to 4. And in September, I've got one of the things that I love, one of the products I've created that I totally love is the See Your Future Vision Workshop, which you came to the very first one, actually.
I did, yes.
And
I still got my vision board.
Yeah.
I cherish it. It's wonderful.
Good, because I do that every 4 months, and I do that for me. And so every 4 months I revisit the practice, and so this will be the 5th time. I've done it 5 times, so this will be the 6th workshop, and it's been so popular, and people have found them so incredibly instantly illuminating and revealing. So that's on the 16th of September. It's a half-day workshop if anyone wanted to come to that. Eric. And then I'm going to do it, depending on numbers, if people are looking keen to do it, I'll revisit the whole Love and Cherish workshop the following month in October, which is a 1.5-day workshop. And in November we have our very first barefoot retreat. So that's a 2-day event, and I'm doing that with one of my dear friends and practitioner who's a mindfulness teacher, Lizzie Martin, and that's
wonderful.
November. All of these are on the website, the Barefoot Vision website, in the event section. But that's like an inside out retreat about reviewing our own inner happiness, and that whole conversation of, because I know that a lot of people go away to retreat, they go away to places to retreat, but this is all happening inside of us. This is internal retreat, and so we are going to be in the Barefoot Sanctuary, but then people will have to go into the community throughout the course of the weekend, and that's a very deliberate thing, because this is about how do we show up every day, not just when we're at a retreat. So I'm looking forward to that hugely. I think that's going to be great for us all to sort of review our year and decide, just get a measure of our own inner joy. So that's the main projects. And then obviously if people want to do one-to-one work, they can book in for a session as of middle of September.
Fantastic. So I'll make sure I've got all of your links up with this recording when it's posted. And yeah, just like to thank you so much for your time and sharing that with me and going with the flow with all the tech issues, which are testing me at the moment.
Of your courage, Fiona, because you know it's like the heart when these things go wrong. It's like the heart goes. You know, I was it's like people say pay it forward. So like I was telling you a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewing someone and the whole thing crashed and she was so gracious. Yes. So it was very easy for me to just go with the flow today.
Oh, like, you know, well, I so appreciate it.
Well, it was thanks. So we all it happens, but it's been such a lovely conversation, and I know we're very much on the same page. And I love what you're doing and how you're building your life. You're creating a beautiful life. So the planet.
Oh, thank you, Bernie.
At me on the screen.
Yes. Well, hopefully the next time we chat, we'll my technological issues will find a way of becoming unstuck. But in the meantime, I wish you a really lovely rest of your day, and thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.